Again. I have a feeling that this video is going to get more dislikes than every other video that I have made this year combined, and I'm excited for it. Hi, I'm here today to talk about the bottom 5 books that I did not enjoy reading in 2018. And yeah, look, let's just get into it, hey? So the first book, according to my list here beside me, is Shadow and Bone, which is standing in for the entirety of the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, which apparently is a book that I read this year, which honestly I don't even remember reading this year, but there it is. And I just didn't enjoy it, which is thoroughly disappointing because you don't have to watch many videos from me to know that I am thoroughly in awe of Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom and absolutely adored them, and they are literally set in the same land with crossover characters and everything, and I just didn't enjoy any of this series at all. I enjoyed maybe the first 2 chapters of the first book and then was like, this is getting boring. I thought that the main character and her main love interest were both saps and I didn't care about them at all or what happened to them. I thought that all the religious iconography and the like saint storyline was just not the kind of thing that I enjoy. And overall I felt like as I was reading it, it was written by an overdramatic teenager who just found everything to be really, overdramatic, and I didn't enjoy it. So there it is. Next up on the list we have A Darker Shade of Magic, which I have talked about at least a little bit here and there because this was the book that you guys voted for me to read for the novel read-along that I did earlier this year, which I want to do again with a better book. But I read this book because that was the book that we chose to read and I didn't enjoy any of it. Well, that's not true. I enjoyed parts of it. I enjoyed it to start with, like the world building was beautiful, the concept was pretty awesome, like the Londons that were all related to each other, but then it just felt like it took so long for anything to happen. I got to like 3/4 of the way through and was like, I feel like it's just set up still, and when is the plot actually gonna start? I don't know, it wasn't. I've made videos about it. We know that I didn't like it and we kind of know why. Thankfully, they're the only 2 YA books that are on this list this year. I think last year most of them were YA and then people got really sad at me. But the next book on my list is The Scarlet Letter. What a classic. I didn't like a classic, but I didn't like The Scarlet Letter very much at all. I was very disappointed by it. It felt like a book where a person was like, I want to send this message and I'm going to repeat it in every sentence that I can. And that's basically what the book was. And I feel like nowadays we've kind of progressed beyond that kind of writing, particularly when it comes to classics, where if you were to write a classic like that nowadays, people would be like, you're just not really trying very hard. And yeah, there it is. Next up on my list, Sense and Sensibility, which I did talk about here and there in a few videos. This was a book that I read for the Booktubeathon and I found it kind of problematic, to be honest. I'm gonna have to do more reading about what's going on in it, but it felt like both of the main characters, the 2 sisters, the sensationalist and the sensiblest, not a word, they deserved better than both of the people that they ended up in relationships with. I didn't want them to end up with the people that they ended up with. I didn't want them to end up with anyone because the options were awful. And yeah, I kind of couldn't get past that to enjoy any of the book because I just spent the whole time being like, why am I supposed to feel romantic about this? This is just awful. And then the final book on this list is Wuthering Heights. What a surprise! I already complained a lot about this book, which is hilarious, but I did not like Wuthering Heights. I will say one thing about Wuthering Heights, which is that as a revenge narrative, I did quite like a lot of it. But I also just didn't like much else about it at all. I found it very boring and I also found it very confusing, particularly with all of the people that kept marrying their relatives and then changing their names to their relatives' names while their relatives married them back the other way, and then everyone just kind of swapped names. That wasn't so fun. I didn't like the fact that for some random reason within the last 5 pages we had ghosts turn up just because Emily Bronte was writing this book and then she was like, shit, I need it to be gothic. How do I make it gothic? I'll add a ghost. And so then there's ghosts for no reason. I don't know, I don't get it. I don't get why people like it at all. And that's it for my bottom reads of 2018. So welcome to my reading wrap up of 2018. This one and my top reads makes my 2018 yearly wrap up, which is very exciting. I'm excited to be reading some new books next year, and I will see you for another video very shortly, I'm sure. And until then, as always, stay classic. Mwah!
Sit there and count your little fingers. Unhappy little girl blue.